Hello and welcome to the Swan Song Project Podcast. My name is Ben Buddy Slack and I'm the founder of the Swan Song Project and the host of this podcast. The Swan Song Project is a charity that helps people living with terminal illnesses or dealing with bereavement to write and record their own original songs. We believe in celebrating lives, making memories and leaving legacies. If you'd like to find out more about the charity, you can visit our website, which is swansongproject.co.uk, and follow us on the various social media channels that will be in the description of this episode. The podcast features songwriters. I asked them to share with us one of their songs, tell us a little bit about how they wrote it, and share a songwriting tip that might be useful for other songwriters, and also share with us a song by another artist that is meaningful to them in some way relating to bereavement. This episode features Jade Helliwell, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, today I'm here with Jade Helliwell. Thanks for joining me, Jade.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you. If you've seen or listened to these podcasts before, you'll know we're doing them in three parts. First, we have one of my guest songs. We'll talk a little bit about how they wrote that. Section 2, Jade's going to share with us a songwriting tip, might be useful for other songwriters. And then Section 3, we're going to talk about a song that's meaningful to Jade in some way relating to bereavement. So we'll ask you to introduce your song for us, please, Jade.
Yeah, so this is my latest single. It's called Telephone.
Nothing big happened today, but I'd still like to tell you every detail anyway. I wish that I could just pick up the phone. I'd even let you spoil the ending of my favorite show. I'd tell you how I missed you around the table Christmas Day. How we tried to make it wonderful, but it just was not the same. I tell you how I hope you're proud of all the things I do, and there's not a single day goes by that I don't think of you. I never have to feel like you were gone if heaven had a telephone. One day I'll have children of my own. I'll tell them stories and let them know of all the love you would have shown. I can't help but wonder how you've been. I feel crazy when I talk to you, but are you listening? When I tell you how I miss you around the table Christmas Day. How we tried to make it wonderful, but it just was not the same. I tell you how I hope you're proud of all the things I do, and there's not a single day goes by that I don't think of you. I never have to feel like you were gone if heaven had a telephone. And I know that's how life goes, but I wasn't ready to let you go. They say he only takes the good ones away. Well, he hit the jackpot with you that day. Oh, if only there could be a line, a link from your home into mine. I tell you how I missed you around the table Christmas Day. How we tried to make it wonderful, but it just was not the same. I tell you how I hope you're proud of all the things I do, and there's not a single day goes by I don't think of you. I never have to feel like you were gone. I never have to feel like I'm alone if heaven had a telephone. telephone.
Okay, brilliant. So that was Telephone by Jade Helliwell, and that was a nice acoustic performance. So this is your new single. It's just coming out.
Yeah, I just released it Friday the 11th of December, so
Brilliant.
very new. Yeah, it was a good release day. It was my first release that's gone straight to #1 on the country charts on the release day, so had a great Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I wrote the song and I wasn't actually intending to ever play it live, never mind like release it as a single, but I've been doing weekly live streams throughout lockdown on a Thursday night, so I played it at just on one of the live streams, and people in the comment section were loving it, and then they started requesting it, so like people tip and request a song each week, and they were asking for it again and again, and I said, I wasn't really planning on recording it. The cost of recording, I only really want to put it into something that I've chosen to release, but the reaction was so like incredible that I was like, okay, maybe we should start thinking about putting it out as a single. And then I was very lucky that a guy called Rob Ingham, who's like been a fan of mine for a couple of years, actually sponsored the track, so he put up all the money for me to be able to record it, which is a huge, but being a musician in 2020, like the help to be able to record something was massive. So I recorded it and then put it out in December, so I didn't actually decide to release it until like October, November time. So
wow, brilliant. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how songs can take on a life like that. When did you write it?
So it's a strange one, really. I lost my grandma pretty suddenly last October, and I started writing it then, more of just like a personal thing for myself, like I wanted to get it on paper, what I was feeling, and I never really intended to play it for anybody, and I couldn't really finish it. And then in June of this year, I lost my granddad as well pretty suddenly. So I went back to what I'd been writing about my grandma and managed to finish a song. And then it was maybe only a couple of weeks after that I played it on that live stream, because my granddad used to watch my live streams, so I used to chat about him on it with everybody, and I told everyone what had happened, and then played the song. And I think people just connected to it, like it's pretty universal subject. So it's a strange one. It's been a different song from start to finish, like the way I wrote it, the how it came to be a single, and everything is completely different from anything else I've ever put out.
Yeah, it's a really, really powerful story. Yeah, sorry to hear about your losses, but I'm so glad that you found and I love that you were writing it not intending it to be a song to sell. You're writing it for your own purposes. It's something obviously that's a big part of what Swan Song does. Yeah, the process of writing the song is so valuable in itself, regardless of what happens to it at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you kind of had that as an outlet. And then it's just interesting, isn't it, how then ones like that often become ones that really resonate with people. And
yeah, definitely. And like from the lyrics, people can probably tell that it's just all about sort of dealing with loss and just wishing that you could do something as simple as pick up a phone and just have a chat with those people who've lost. And the main line in the chorus about missing them around the table is like direct. Last Christmas, my grandparents came to my house for Christmas from me being like tiny. Last Christmas, her not being sat around the Christmas table was so strange, and I thought that was a really personal line that no one would sort of relate to, but it's actually one of the lines of the song that people are saying, and I remember exactly how it feels like when I lost such a person and the table chair was empty, like, and I think it's really interesting, like, to write something really personal, and actually it's probably one of the songs that people have related to more than anything that I've put out before. So. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I think you're right that you're linking to those kind of big occasions like Christmas is where a lot of time it reminds people of what's missing in a way at times, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I really like the first lines in it about nothing big happened today, but I'd like to tell you all about it anyway. I think that's because again that's those kind of things that are very real. It's not a over the top sentiment, but it's a real one, isn't it? Of like you just like to talk to people like that. And I use this quote all the time. There's a Leonard Cohen thing where he said, "Your most specific answer will often be your most universal one."
Yeah,
things like that where you write about something that's really specific to you are often the things that the most amount of people connect with.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true.
Yeah. I use that line all the time. People listen to this podcast have probably heard me say it every episode. So how did you go about writing it? Did you just Was it just like something that came out? You say it's kind of changed over time as well.
Yeah, so when I sat down writing it, I'd had the idea of telephone in my mind, like if Heaven had a telephone, for a while. Like a few weeks after losing my grandma, straight away, that was in my head. So I started writing that, just that chorus is what I had. And I actually had a different line originally. I had, you'd never get me off the dog and bone if Heaven had a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone, my mum was just like, I don't like that line. And everyone, all my boyfriends that were like, you're from Yorkshire, you don't call the telephone a dog and bone, so that's not going to work. I was like, no, I'm keeping it. But then the more I listened to it, I was like, yeah, actually, it really doesn't work. So I changed that lyric. But like I said, I sort of wrote a chorus and a little bit of a verse, and then just put it to one side and didn't really think about it again. And then once I'd lost my granddad, it was on my mind again what I'd been writing. So I went back and wrote it again. And again, I've done loads of co-writing in the past few years, and the last sort of 4 or 5 songs that I've put out have been co-writes, but this one's the first one in a long time that I've just written by myself and released a single as well. So it was, I think, a little bit more nerve-wracking when it's sort of all on you, your words. Yeah, it's been, like I say, it's been a different experience to what I'm used to.
Yeah, I liked you said that you so you got your mum's opinion on it and stuff. Is that something you do regularly when you do songs? Do you kind of run them by?
When I first started, I used to play things from my mum and dad, and my dad's like, everything I do is the best thing in the world. He'd be like, oh, yeah, and my mum's a bit more realistic, and she'd be like, maybe not that. I can mix up the two. But this one, my grandma and granddad were both my mum's parents, so I wanted her to hear it and I wanted to see what she thought of it. But I didn't want to upset her as well, so I said it to her, and then she like listened to it in private, and then she came back, she was like, I really like it, but that one line. I was like, no, I like it. She was like, your grandma never called it the dog and bone.
That's really good. I mean, those people close to you that can give you that kind of feedback.
Yeah, definitely. And my boyfriend's a songwriter as well. Like, he MDs my band, and we've co-written a couple of my songs together, so he'll always give me a very realistic, and he was the second one to be like, I agree with you. I was like, oh, can you believe my mum said this? And he was like, I agree. I was like, maybe you're right then.
Yeah, it's good to be authentic, isn't it? Sometimes those rhymes they're kind of seductive. If you find a rhyme that you like, it's like, oh, I want to get that rhyme in, but if it doesn't like fit with who you are, you've got to get it out and find another way around. yeah, it's really good. How's this one been? So you say you've done quite a lot of co-writes recently.
Yeah, I do. In general, I do a lot of co-writing. I go over to Nashville and I write with people over there, and I go to London quite a bit and write with a lot of writers on like the UK country scene. And then this year, I think probably more than ever, like Zoom's been brilliant to be able to just hook up with everybody like all over the world and do writing. So I spent a lot of time on Zoom co-writing, which again was very weird the first one, but I feel like I'm a pro at it now. I know how to set everything. So I do quite a lot of co-writing, and I mentioned that my boyfriend writes with me as well occasionally, not that often. There needs to be a line between shit and writing, so only if we actually like sit in a writing session he'll get involved. We don't like sit at home write together. Yeah, I do quite a lot of it.
Oh, nice. How do you find it? How do you what are the different collaborations that you do, and how do they come about? And are you doing it over Zoom where like do you like do a session like this and write things together, or are you sending things back and forth?
Yeah, so for Zoom I do like a session like this and be like coming up with ideas and stuff together and writing it back and forth, and then one of us normally will just do like a rough demo afterwards and send it to the other. Most of them come about just like if I like someone's sort of music, or I've seen them writing with other artists that I like, I'll reach out to them on like Instagram or email, or normally it's like a friend of a friend, something like that. And similar, I get messages back of people saying, I like this one that you wrote, such a body, so could we set up a write? And then normally, like I say, I'd set aside like a couple hours to, either if it's on Zoom or meeting with them, and I like to go armed with like quite a few different ideas, so that hopefully at least one of them's worth going after in the writing session. And yeah, I'd love it. When I first started doing it, I was like, I think it's because it's very personal, isn't it, like writing? And I was a bit not embarrassed, but I was like, oh, it's going to be a bit hard to get in a room with a complete stranger and just open up and say everything you're feeling and thinking and write a song. But I actually found it, I love it. And I love that I might have a bit of an idea and be on the verge of being in it, but then someone else can just change a word or give it a bit of a twist and suddenly it's a whole new song. And I love that aspect of co-writing. And a lot of the stuff that I've put out that I've like co-written has been that, where I've thought, oh, it's all right, but I can't really think of anything, and then I've just taken it into writing. It's been like the bottom of it's like, I had this idea, but, and then someone else, I'll say, well, did you think about twisting it? And actually it could be from her perspective. So I'm like, oh, and then a new song comes out. So I do love it.
It's a brilliant process, isn't it? But like, as you say, it's quite can be quite daunting and takes a bit of getting used to, I find. And
yeah,
like, I guess, you know, it's one song I do a lot of co-writing with people, but do you ever find like, you know, I guess you click with certain people easier than others,
yeah,
I imagine, and like different people. But then because it's like different people pull different things out and make different suggestions, don't they? So like, even if, that's what I've always been concerned about with co-writing sometimes. Is, I mean, I've never had it in all my experience doing it, though, thinking about it now. Someone who you just, you know, struggle to connect with or work with. It's even if you have very different styles or different ways of going about it, it's generally still quite good if you can be productive with it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you have to just have like an agreement as you go in. Like, if if you both don't like the idea, then it don't get in the song. And if you can't agree on something, there's no point in like spending time fighting over it. You should just both agree that that's not going in and move on. And then, because I've been in writes before where I spent like an hour trying to, because people are like, no, we need to get this line right, we need to get this line. I'm like, well, come back to it. But yeah, I think you can get too hung up on like a line or a rhyme or something like that. So I think you should just agree, like, if you both don't love it, you don't make it in and you move on to something else.
Yeah.
It seems to work quite well.
I think it's probably a fine line as well between like, obviously not being too precious about your ideas. So if you suggest something and the other person doesn't like it, to not take offense to it, but also to be kind of tactful in the way of like not just telling people that the shit, you know.
Yeah,
like, it's that balance, isn't it? That's what everyone's worried when they first do something like that, is I'll make a suggestion, everyone will think it's shit and think I'm an idiot. So it's like being kind of that balance of like, you know, whether it's going to go in or not, but letting people down gently, or like, you know, finding out a way of going around it. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think you have to word it well. You can't just say like, that idea's terrible. Well, it depends how comfortable you are. Like, if I'm writing with my boyfriend, we'll both just be like, absolutely not.
Yeah, once you've got that kind of that good space. I've done group ones sometimes where like, and it feels really hard because group, you know, like facilitating group songwriting, you know, then you're trying to get a balance amongst everybody, and if there's one person who like others just shoot their ideas down all the time, it's that kind of balance of like making sure, and you want everyone to feel a part of it as well, don't you? Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
do you often do in twos, or do you do like, have you done some bigger group ones as well?
Mostly just me and one other person, but I've done them like with 3. I think the most I've done is 5, but mostly I tend to do 2, or 3. It depends. Like, I'm more of a lyricist really as well, and I think you find your own like strengths in writing, and mine definitely lies with the lyrics. So it's great when I write with someone who's really good with melody or like chord structures and stuff, because then I feel like I don't have to worry about that stuff, because I'm not great at putting like the chord sequence together and stuff. So I like to find people that we've got like strengths in different sections as well. I think then you come up with a better product in the end.
Yeah, something that like, I remember being younger and not, you know, just not kind of appreciating that was a, you know, like there are people who are strong lyricists and people who are strong on melody, and some people who are strong on chord structure, you know, like how specialist you become as a musician the further down your career you go, and that there is, you know, there's work for all of those roles. You don't have to be an expert at everything.
Yeah.
Do you like, when you, trying this way to word this, do you have a aim for a song often when you're doing these co-writes? Like, do you say we're going to write a song about a certain thing, or we're going to aim for a song that's in this kind of style, or do you just let them go? And you mentioned about having a few ideas with you. Like, do you kind of like make ideas all the time and then just see when they fit? Or?
Yeah, so I normally have like lists on my phone, on my notes, and like voice notes and stuff if I get an idea in my head. And sometimes I'll have one and I'll think like I might have a full chorus idea or a theme or a hook, and I'll think, oh, that person would be really good to write that one with. So I'll try and wait till I go in that co-write and take that idea. But normally I have like words and a melody as an idea and a theme for the song. But if I was in a writing, I'd obviously always start by who are we writing. Like, am I writing for that person? Or are we writing for myself? Or are we writing to pitch to somebody? And then if it was for myself, I normally think like, am I in the mood to write like an upbeat, like sassy song, or is this a heartbreak song? Like, what's the vibe of the song? And then I'd go through what sort of ideas I've got that fit with that, and then hopefully find one and go from there.
So is that just kind of based on how you're feeling at the time in terms of what you want to put out, or do you have any kind of like, you know, like last time I put out a song like this, and now I want to put out one like this? Or
yeah, mostly just on like you say, like what I've already released, or like maybe it's coming up to festival season. I think I want some new upbeat music that I can sing at festivals and have a strut about the stage and people can dance along to. Like, if I was coming to festival season, I won't want to write loads and loads of sad songs, because then that'd be all that I'd have to sing at the festival slot, and no one wants that when they're swinging a beer around in the air. So I do sort of base it off what my release plan's looking like, or what shows I've got, and weirdly, like what time of year it is. Like I'm more likely to release a ballad in winter than in summer. So yeah, it depends what time of year it is and what I've got lined up in the coming months.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, really interesting, great stuff. So let's move into section 2 now, shall we? This is where I ask my guests for a songwriting tip. So what would your tip be for us, Jade?
Mine would just be, I sort of touched on it earlier, is just don't get too hung up on making words rhyme, or being really clever. I think a lot of time I've done it myself where I've got really hung up on like, I can word this really. Sometimes it's the simplest of lines that I think hit the most. So that would be my tip. Don't get hung up on making sure it rhymes, and don't get too hung up on trying to be really clever, because if you say it the simplest way, that's maybe what will resonate more with people.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think it's something I'm thinking about a lot recently, just as well as other songs that I'm thinking about. But about trying to say things in a simple way, and it's a lot harder than it seems.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking in terms of like, because it's saying something clever but in a simple way.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's like whether it's you know like a very specific interaction that you're trying to communicate. So like you know, like at the start of your song with the line about talk about the day, like that's a kind of you know well observed, and there's so much in that situation that tells people about the relationship, but then it's saying it in a way which it, you know, just connects it, people get it straight away. It's not making it fancy, but it's a harder thing to do than it seems. I always think that. Yeah,
definitely. I've done it myself so many times. I'm like, I can say that better, and then I've thought about it, and it's like, I don't need to say it. I don't need to word it any better than that is, because like you say, the simplest form sometimes is the best way. I mean, there's a Kelsey Ballerini song. She's a country artist from the US, and she wrote a song about like a message to the other woman, and trying to figure out, is she the other woman in the situation or the girl who she's singing about? And one of the lines in there, she just says, "Are you mad? Me too." And I was like, that's perfect. Like, she didn't have to be very poetic about how she's worded it. She just like saying, yeah, we're both really fuming about the situation. Like, I just love things like that are really simplistic but hits.
Yeah, and country music's great for it, isn't it? Country music and blues music are my two favourite genres for just that simple, direct messages that really hit home. Yeah. And what you said there as well about like, it's like, you know, lyrics can be very poetic, but they don't have to be that. And what's more important is it sounds like you. Again, go back to your lyric at the about the telephone and the dog and bone. It's kind of being aware of that. Like, does this sound like me, or am I trying to sound like someone else? Or trying to jazz things up too much and make it too fancy.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, like just like be authentic to yourself. Like, if you wouldn't normally speak like that, there's no point in writing it in songs. Yeah. And how do you say about not getting hung up on stuff? Is there like a point for you when you know, like, this it's time to leave this one? Because sometimes you find that sometimes there's lines that do take a bit of extra work, and sometimes there's ones what you get stuck on that you do need to bin. I sort of try to, if I had a line that I wasn't happy with, I'd go back to it a couple of times. And if I really, really still wasn't happy, then that'd be something I'd take into a cut. I'd think there's no point, I'm getting nowhere on my own, or I'm getting nowhere in this right, so we'll leave it and start something new and go back to it. And then often you can finish it. You just need a like fresh mind, like to sleep a couple of days and Well, not at once. I mean, like, leave it a couple of days, have a bit of sleep, and go back to it, and then normally I can figure it out then.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like that. You know, you can have bits of songs that you keep with you. Can't you? Like, you don't have to write all in one go. You can say get stuck and then leave it for a few months, or then work with someone else might finish it off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that, Jade. It's really good. So moving to the third part now. So this is where I ask my guests to share with us a song that's meaningful to them in some way relating to bereavement. So what I do here is I put the link in the YouTube link in the description. So if you're watching or listening to this and you don't know the song, you can go and check it out and come back and we're going to have a bit of a chat about it. So what song did you choose for us, Jade?
So I chose "See You Again" by Carrie Underwood.
Great stuff. Yes, if you've not heard the song, you want to go listen to it, you can follow that link. So what made you choose this song, Jade?
I mean, to start with, I love everything Carrie does. I think she's an amazing vocalist. So she definitely is one of my favourite artists. But this song, I think it's really good. Like, obviously, it's about missing somebody who she's lost. But I like that it doesn't have to just be about that. It could be about a lost friendship or a lost relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be about like someone that she's lost, like they've lost their life. So I like that aspect of it, and I just think it's really powerful. Like it speaks a lot about, yeah, it's hard, but I'm gonna keep on going because I know that there's something after this. I don't know what it is, but when I get there, you'll be there waiting. I just love it. I love the sentiment of the song. Yeah,
it's got that faith in it, hasn't it? And I hadn't thought about that in terms of it being applicable to different situations where people might be missing someone.
Yeah, I like that. I like when a song can have a couple meanings. Well, I had this discussion with some friends the other week, and we're saying that really, like, when you write a song and release it, it's no longer yours when it's out in the world, because however the listener takes it, that's what it becomes. And I know I have a song called Broken I put out years ago on my first album, and I wrote it about like a lost relationship and like I'll be fine. And a girl said to me that it had really helped her. And it related to her in terms she'd been bullied at school, and she saw it as that, and it never crossed my mind that it could be a song about bullying. But then once I listened back to it with that in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, actually it would work for that. But I love that about music, that it's what the listener takes on and what the listener hears through it. And I think that's one of those songs that, although it is about losing somebody, I also think it could apply to like different aspects of life as well.
Yeah, it's amazing when songs can do that, isn't it? And it's something I used to always want to know what songs were about, and I'd spend days reading up about what's this song about, how did they write that? And then there's also, I think, so Dylan, famously like won't say what his songs are about at all. He just give very mysterious answers about stuff.
Yeah.
And that used to annoy me, but now I love it because it is. And it was him or Tom Waits I heard say about, like, cause if they tell you what the song's about, what they wrote it about, and that's what it's about, then it takes that away from everyone else. It takes your own interpretation away from it.
Yeah.
And it's like there's some songs that, like, obviously are about certain things and that are literal, but there's ones that are a bit more ambiguous. It's kind of, they're very special in their own way, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people connect to the songs, because you take it on and how it applies to your life, and then it can become really special to you. I love that.
Yeah, and songs can change meaning over time, as I found as well. So I might think a song's about one thing when I'm younger, then I'll go through some other experiences and listen to the song again and like, oh, maybe it's about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great stuff, Jade. Well, thanks a lot for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll put the links in the description so people can check out your website and soon to get the new single on there. Yep. And are you still doing your weekly live streams?
Yes, it's 7:00 every Thursday evening on Facebook, which is just at Jade Helliwell Music. We'll play a bunch of stuff for like an hour and a half, so we have some fun. Sounds good. I'll put the link in the description so people can check it out. Thanks a lot for your time, Jade. Appreciate it. Thank you.